gentlemen, it is now time.
The best there is, best there was, and the best there ever will be. And you know it.
With a tears in my eyes.
The cream of the crop. Acknowledge me.
Episode 393 of Top Rope Nation. It's a Sunday morning coming at you here live, coffee in the mug, ready to talk the latest news in the world of professional wrestling. Justin Joint, how you doing this morning?
Doing good. Gonna apologize in advance if anybody hears chatter behind me, but I've got an active household up above me. But other than that, I'm doing great. We had a little family movie night last night. Watched K-pop Demon Hunters on Netflix.
Oh my God.
Dude, I liked it. I thought it was really fun.
My oldest daughter is in the room here. I'm not going to put her on the show, but Justin and the family watched K-pop Demon Hunters last night. My oldest two kids are obsessed with that. And yes, they liked it, Eden.
It was really good.
Yeah.
Soda pop.
Soda pop. Yes, indeed. I've heard it many times. Jesse, how are you doing this morning?
To give you the PG version of this, I'm short, I'm bald, I can't get any women, I've been fighting my entire life.
It's hoes, not women.
PG version, Justin.
Oh, sorry. I'm not PG.
It's all right. She can't hear you over here. It was a bad word. Sorry. Last time she was in the office when we did a show, she counted the bad words. So
I was very curious if those earbuds were in.
Yeah. No, she's not listening to the earbuds this time. I actually have been out of town all week. Took the family to Chicago. We're there. I am way behind on wrestling. Obviously, we did the SummerSlam shows. Did not see any of Raw. Saw a little bit of Dynamite in our hotel. But had a great time in Chicago. Great food. Went to some awesome museums, Field Museum, Museum of Science and Industry, Adler Planetarium. Got to the Bears Pro Shop at Soldier Field. A lot of stuff. And, wrestling was pretty far off in my mind until my phone started pinging about this ESPN deal. And then I'm like, all right, I got to see what's going on with ESPN. So we're going to get into all of that here on the show, guys. If you're joining us live right now, please hit like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. If you haven't already, it would help out our show a whole lot as we continue to try to grow this thing. We just hit our 9-year anniversary, Justin, about 2 weeks ago. And so I guess technically we are now in our 10th year of Top Rope Nation. The 10-year anniversary would be next summer, but we are technically in our 10th year. We've been at this a long time. If you could recommend our show to a friend, we'd really appreciate that. I'm going to put the names of all of our patrons across the bottom of the screen right now. They are the people who really make Top Rope Nation go. Closing in on 400 episodes. Thanks to all of you for your support. And if you want to become a patron, check the link in the description. Bonus content dropping each and every week. Full podcasts only for patrons, including Top Rope Nation Classics, going back to look at SummerSlam 1990 here in the next couple of weeks. We got that one on deck. So check it out. There's over 200 plus bonus shows available the minute you sign up. You can also become a YouTube member here on the YouTube page and get video versions of most of our bonus shows as well.
We've done so many classics that I have no idea which shows we have and haven't done. And I'm honestly shocked we've never done SummerSlam 1990. If you had asked me beforehand if we'd done it, it's got to be in the archives.
Yeah. I had to think about it, but then I remember we did 89. So it was like close. We did the 89 show with, Zeus and all of that, but we haven't done 90. We did 91. So I guess we're bridging that gap between 89 and 91 here. Which SummerSlams have we done? We did 98.
Let's say it'll be 89.
Yep.
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 91.
Yep.
89.
Yep. Yeah. We might have to do
90.
93 down the road then, huh? Yikes.
Do we have to?
I mean, I guess there's some good stuff on it, but the main event, obviously, not a great one. All right. So let's get into it, you guys. WWE and ESPN announced a deal this week, a 5-year deal, $325 million per year for the U.S. broadcasting rights to all WWE PLE events. This does not include the NXT shows. That could be shopped around in a different deal. But this is the main roster WWE PLE shows, starting with WrestleMania next year. That will be WrestleMania 42. That will be the first show to air on the service. This new ESPN direct-to-consumer app is launching here very soon, with WWE joining it early next year. So lots of information going around this week on what this means for the pro wrestling industry, what this means for WWE fans, the cost of the service, $29.99 per month, or $299 per year is the deal on it, $299.99. It includes access to all of the shows on ESPN. It's going to have the NFL Network on there eventually as well. So you're going to be getting a lot. It's going to be different from the current ESPN Plus service. And, I guess the first concern wrestling fans had obviously is you might have to pay almost 3 times as much money, if not more, depending on what tier you're on Peacock, for WWE PLEs now. And so I felt personally that the communication on this new deal was very bad. Usually WWE's PR and everything, they're really on top of everything. And then it came out that, well, if you have access to ESPN cable, their regular channel through a cable service or some streaming services, then you'll get the new ESPN app for free. You'll just simply open up the app and you'll log in with your cable credentials, and then you'll get the service. You won't have to pay the $29.99. So then a lot of people relaxed, But then it came out later from CNBC and confirmed by Dave Meltzer in this week's Wrestling Observer newsletter that YouTube TV, which is the #1 streaming cable platform, currently does not have a deal with ESPN for this service. Justin celebrating. Don't make it about WWE anymore. So that could change, obviously. I mean, there's several months to go here, and I know that ESPN they're hoping to work out a deal with basically every cable system and every streaming provider right now, so that everybody can get it. Because the thought is, on the cable providers, perspective is, geez, if we don't offer this to our subscribers and they realize that they can get all the ESPN networks, NFL Network for $29.99, they might cancel their big time sports fans might cancel their cable then and just go over there and save money. So cable, I think cable subscribers too, they want to make sure that this is all meshed together well, and that they're going to give value to their subscribers. But YouTube TV, they do not have a deal right now. Justin, how you feeling, man?
I mean, I feel great. I've been looking for any excuse or reason to not have to watch their PLEs anymore, but that is wild how they didn't have all this figured out, and just the poor communication, to your point, of rolling this out and not really telling anybody what was going on. I mean, our Facebook group was all over the place with trying to figure out how much is it going to cost to be a WWE fan now. And I really don't understand how this thing with YouTube TV isn't worked out. I mean, I see your point about people are just gonna ditch YouTube TV so they can pay less for only ESPN stuff, which I'm sorry, for me, there's not much there anymore for ESPN. It's certainly not worth getting rid of everything else, when you think about all the other sports across all the other channels and platforms. So it's really weird. This feels really disjointed and confusing, and I would fully expect them to have this ironed out with YouTube TV before WrestleMania next year, because that would be shocking. I mean, I would be A-okay with it if that's not the case, but yeah, I think they'll figure it out.
I'll just read this real quick and I'll get your thoughts, Jesse. From the Observer, word for word. Dave wrote, those who get ESPN on DirecTV, Hulu Live, Charter Cable, Fubo TV, and Verizon Fios will be able to get the new service free. Those who have YouTube TV will not be able to get this free. While not stated anywhere by the company, the belief is that those with Comcast, Xfinity, Dish, Cox, Sling, Frontier, Congeco, I don't even know what that is. We don't have that in the Midwest. Cable One will not get the service for free as of this moment, although this is all a work in progress, and this could and is expected to change shortly. He writes, this has to do with those having long-term carriage agreements with ESPN, and they will be negotiating with the others and hope to have most of them by the end of this year, well before the WWE deal commences. Even though the deal announced that all ESPN subscribers would have access to the new service, it appears at this point to be closer to 47% that will have it as of today. But again, work in progress. That percentage is expected to be much higher by WrestleMania time next year, which would be the first show of the new deal. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely expected YouTube TV to be part of this. And as of right now, it accordingly to CNBC and Dave, it is not. Your thoughts, Jesse?
I think when the wind blows, that's when things change. So this is so early on, the early onset stages. We're still looking at that would be 8 months until everything's rolled out. So we're all in a wait and see pattern right now. I think if you're doing the math in your head, because you just mentioned Sling, that's what I have.
Mm-hmm.
And I just figured if I were to pay an extra $10 a month to the next subscription up, that's when I can get ESPN. I mean, for me, the only time I would ever watch that is during football season if the Vikings are on Monday night. Otherwise, I don't watch anything ESPN related anymore. I think that's just the way of the land, and how, from a sports perspective, is just TNT like picks up a lot of things. They have basketball, but now they're moving to NBC. Again, it's just a revolving door of all this stuff moving around. So I guess in just to wrap this summary up, it's just one of those wait and see patterns. Because again, for the first time in a long time, WWE PR wasn't on point with everything. Because the way you just read it, I'm super confused. So I'm gonna have to wait till 2026 to figure everything out.
So I guess to try and like lay it all out there, beginning next year, in order to watch everything WWE related, you're going to need Netflix for Raw. You're going to need some sort of cable provider for SmackDown and NXT, because they're on, what is it, CW, and what the fuck is SmackDown on now? USA?
USA.
Yeah.
And then you might possibly have to have this ESPN app.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't get this YouTube TV resolved. And then I think the biggest question for me, the biggest question for me, and I'm sure you guys, is where's the library going? Is that going to go to another platform?
We will get to that. That is not part of this deal at all. This is only the PLEs. Now, with that, there's going to be tons of promotion. They're going to be doing, I guess, live sports centers from the sites of WWE PLEs. It'll be interesting to see how like the traditional sports fans react to that. But they're going to be getting huge pushes, all the talent on all the talk shows, and all of that. I agree with all you guys. I don't watch much ESPN at all these days. I have ESPN Plus because I have it with this bundle with like Hulu and Disney at a price that's not even offered anymore. I'm like grandfathered into when it all launched. So I still have it for a pretty cheap price. But the only time I watch ESPN Plus is like occasionally during college basketball season to get games that aren't on the main channels. That's about it. Like I would not pay $30 for it. It's just the value is not there for me. There's a pretty good breakdown in this from Alex Sherman of CNBC, and Dave has this quoted in the Observer, and he basically lays out how the whole thing is going to work, and that what I was trying to get at in explaining the flux that this could lead to between different cable companies and people like changing cable companies get access and all of that. So I'm just going to read what Alex Sherman wrote, because I could try to summarize this. I'll just lay it out there in his own words. So he said, anyone who currently pays for a bundle of TV networks that includes ESPN will eventually get ESPN's direct-to-consumer service for no extra charge. You'll download or click on the ESPN app on your mobile device or smart TV. There'll be a login screen that asks you if you're a pay TV subscriber. You'll then be able to authenticate that you do, in fact, pay for traditional pay TV and get ESPN in your bundle. Once you authenticate, you'll get access to the new ESPN direct-to-consumer product with everything in it. That means starting in 2026, you'll get access to all the WWE PLEs, as well as everything else that's on ESPN, like Monday Night Football, NBA games, not the NFL Network yet, eventually. That deal needs to close first. But once it does, then NFL Network and the games that air on it will be integrated into the direct-to-consumer service. The WWE live events won't be available on ESPN Plus. You'll need to upgrade to the $29.99 ESPN product. But to be clear, if you're a cable subscriber that gets ESPN, you'll get it for no extra charge. And ESPN will not charge an additional fee for the live events. No return to pay-per-view here like ESPN has done with some UFC events on ESPN Plus. And then regarding the different companies that don't have deals yet for their subscribers to get on ESPN, Sherman writes, I'm told discussions with all of these pay TV providers are ongoing, and Disney hopes to have most of them done by the end of the year. It's still unclear to me at this point if Disney can accelerate some of these discussions if their pay TV carriage renewals aren't until 2026. Long term, ESPN plans to have authentication deals with every major pay TV distributor. Disney doesn't want existing cable customers leaving the bundle just because ESPN is now available outside of it. But when the application is ready for Showtime on August 21st for their launch, there are going to be a bunch of pay TV subscribers who aren't going to get their authentication access that they're paying for, and it's possible that that may lead to some pay TV distribution swapping. In other words, if I'm a YouTube TV subscriber and I want ESPN's direct-to-consumer product now, maybe I switch to DirecTV or Charter if I live in that territory. So obviously, ESPN wants to reach a deal with those operators, and ultimately, when they reach the deal, probably your provider will send you an email and let you know that you could get this new ESPN service now. But that's the deal. So, Justin, you brought up the archive.
Yes.
That's something that they're going to be shopping in a secondary deal. And it's possible, like some have assumed that would end up on Netflix. Netflix was never going to be in the running for this based on what they were going to have to pay. The amount of new Netflix subscribers that Netflix would need to draw in to pay for a deal like this for acquiring the WWE PLE rights would simply not happen because they already have the WWE customers from Raw being there. And they would have to pay out even more to land this and then hope to get more subscribers to cover that cost. And it's just not going to happen. So they were out. Some people thought Peacock might be in here. Peacock was paying about $190 million per year for the current deal with WWE. And now WWE gets $325 million per year to move to ESPN. And it's only the PLEs. Peacock paid all that and they were getting basically everything, right? Like the whole archive, all the exclusive rights to the PLE, TV on demand with a delay, so they weren't competing with cable. But yeah, we don't know where the archive is going to end up. And obviously for fans like us, that's of the utmost importance. When you look at the majority though, their archive actually does not do that many views, I'm told, unfortunately. So that is not their chief concern. And this gets to a bigger problem in the streaming world is we've seen, people move away from physical media and just relying on streaming. It's kind of a reminder that if you rely on digital streaming, you never actually own that stuff and it could just vanish. Sometimes it has me thinking maybe I need to go back to physical media.
Yeah. We share a Fandango account, previously Vudu, with my brother-in-law. And for years there, he was, buying a ton of movies all the time, which was great, for us. Mm-hmm. But to your point, it got to, it's like, well, shit, what if Fandango just collapses and goes away? Then all your stuff is just poof, gone. So it's a weird world we're living in right now. And in the next thing I kind of want to talk about, or at least ask you guys, because I don't know if it's good or bad, is if WWE sends their library to a completely different spot other than Netflix or, this ESPN thing or something. It's like, is it good to have your product scattered across so many different services? Because I think we're living in an age where, times are getting tight. The economy's not doing all that great. I think a lot of people, myself included, are looking to cut ties, to cut the cord with certain streaming services. That could be a really bad thing, I think, to have your product scattered like that. But then also maybe they're thinking, well, maybe more eyeballs. It's like if they're not watching here, maybe they'll see it here and that'll make them want the product that's over on this other streaming service. So I don't know. What do you guys think about, that?
I think convenience wins in this aspect. You don't want to be going to multiple places. And the older we get, we're like, what is this on again? I don't remember. Memory just starts to go. I think for the younger viewers, they don't mind. They're like, oh, it's on this. Cool. My parents have that. All right. I'll leech on with them. So on my end, the answer would be convenience. So try to keep it within 2 apps, maybe 3. I get Peacock also with my Sling provider too. So I guess it's one of those things where it's like, I'm never going to go back to Peacock unless they keep the library. And what good is that going to be for Peacock?
Well, and so that's the thing is me thinking about if they move the library somewhere else is I didn't get Peacock just for the library. I got it because that gets me Premier League a lot of mornings when it's not on cable. They do have a lot of great movies. I consider myself a little bit of a cinephile. Watched Heretic the other day. That was quite good. Not on Peacock. That's on Max. But so I'm not going to get rid of Peacock if it moves away from there. But that also means wherever it moves to, if it's a service I don't have, I don't know if I'm going to get that because it's probably going to mean I have to cut cords with something else that I already have.
Yeah, I don't believe that they view. I mean, obviously they don't view the library as being something that they can monetize to the level of the PLEs, just based on what the figures say and their analytics on the viewership of that old material. Selfishly, I hope it stays on Peacock since it's already there. I mean, remember when they moved there from the network and how we had to wait for all the stuff to get uploaded? Also, too, I'm not a huge fan of how the Raw library moved to Netflix because they don't have the complete library there. Even now, like several years, only have a few episodes up, and that has all just vanished. And, if you want to see certain episodes of Raw from the past, you're going to have to go to other means to find it. So, yeah, to Aaron's point in the chat, that is one of the backups. And this is why they've been, with the WWE Vault, and then they launched the WCW channel on YouTube as well. They're posting all WCW archival content. I think long term, they think that they'll just put that up on YouTube because they're going to get paid for it with YouTube ads, so they're making money off of it. And to them, based on where their viewership is, they probably just think that that's the thing to do long term is just to upload the vault to YouTube and just make ad revenue on it and have it all available there, as much of it as they can. Now we're talking about thousands and thousands of hours. You're probably never going to get as much as we have right now on Peacock and certainly what we had on the network on YouTube, but maybe you'll get a high percentage of it. And I think maybe long term, that's probably the direction they go in. But certainly if they can get Peacock or Netflix to pay up a little bit to have the archive, that's what's going to happen. We know the archive internationally moved to Netflix. I saw that John Hope mentioned US people could get a VPN and access the UK version of Netflix, also an option. But yeah, I don't know, Justin, just to the point about physical media and all that, a lot of this has me thinking I need to invest in a good size hard drive and just download the content I want so I have it forever, because you never know where this stuff is going to end up or if it's all going to vanish. It sucks, but that's the reality of streaming.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because for in my 20s, I spent a lot of money on DVDs and Blu-rays, and then all of a sudden, the streaming services came, and it's like, oh shit, I can basically watch all this. It's like I came close to a spot where it's like, well, I guess do I just throw all this crap away? But luckily, I didn't. I just need to kind of compact it into a little bit smaller space than all the cases and boxes. But yeah, man, I don't know what we do from here.
Yeah. No, it's weird how the cycles go in technology, where you get away from physical media, then people are streaming everything. Now people are kind of going back to physical media, it feels like, here and there. And also, you see the jokes on social media about all these, the streaming world we live in now and paying for all of these different services. And it's like, it would be great if I could get them all for one cost, like cable used to be. I mean, cord cutting was great when it started, but then when every single person launched their own service, it's costing you more than cable ever did.
Yep. Yeah, man. I don't know. It's thinking about the library and how we're talking about, would they just throw it on YouTube because the value isn't quite there, but also at the same time we just talked about how Netflix doesn't want to buy it because it's not valuable enough. It's just, I don't know, it's in a weird spot. And to your point, just not enough people are going back and watching the old stuff.
I mean, I could see Netflix paying for the archive for, obviously a reduced rate, not what they're paying for the PLEs, or what they would have had to pay for the PLEs to get those versus ESPN. Because, they paid up for Raw, and to get the PLEs was just, Dave has the figures in the Observer, but he talks about like how many subscribers Netflix would have had to add in order to justify the cost for the PLEs moving there here in the US. And it was like, there was no way they could rationalize that, just even based off of the viewership that Raw is doing over there, and thinking that they would bring in more subscribers. So yeah, ESPN, $29.99. If your cable company does not have an authorization code, or if you don't have cable, it's going to cost you $29.99. WWE's quotes on this were very much that, oh yeah, our fans will follow us over there. They followed us to Peacock. They'll follow us there too.
Nope.
I was nervous when I first heard about it, that it might be returning to like a pay-per-view model, like UFC does, because I know that when they first launched the network, there were people in the company that thought they should not offer WrestleMania as part of that $9.99, that should still be traditional pay-per-view, and that they were going to be losing out on a lot of revenue. And some of those people are still in the company, and they might get to a point where they think, the B-level PLEs, we're not going to charge extra for those, but look how much money we're leaving on the table by not charging at least a little bit for the signature events. And also, I didn't mention this earlier, but the PLEs are also going to air on ESPN's proper cable channel, but not the whole thing. So apparently what they're going to do is, if you have ESPN, the cable channel, they might put like the first hour of the PLE on there, or the first 2 hours, but like the big matches will be on the app, and then they'll try to funnel you over there to either pay for the app or whatever you need to do. But they're gonna have some of that airing on broadcast on cable, apparently. So good or bad for the industry, obviously this is good for WWE. They're making a crap ton of money off of this deal. They're going to get a ton of exposure on the ESPN shows. They're going to get live sports centers, like I said. For fans, I mean, ultimately, this might end up costing you more, depending on your situation with, the cable companies. And it's just another cost to being a wrestling fan, unfortunately, in 2025.
Oh man, with all that extra revenue, they're going to be able to hire so many more sex offending executives to help them with their product. It's going to be incredible.
With all this, as they would say, synergy between WWE and ESPN, I would really like to see with AEW and HBO and TNT and TBS, I'd like to see a lot more collaboration there. We see it here and there, but man, I would like to see them get more of a push, because even when you go to watch Dynamite, it's usually not the featured top image when you log into the app. You usually have to scroll over one or two spots and then it's there. I'd like to see them get more of a push, because they're obviously going to need that. If we look at the flip side of the coin here, with WWE doing all this with ESPN, they're going to need to bring in some kind of other sports platform to elevate them as well, I think.
So if you go on their actual website, they're listed in the others, and it's in alphabetical order. So I think out of like the 35 other topics in terms of your sports, they're like number 31 behind like men's and women's college basketball, all that good stuff. So yeah, I think a little bit of a highlight should be included for them.
Yeah.
Comes to that aspect.
To their investment in AEW, they're going to have to, I think they're going to have to platform them a little bit more as well. All right. Anything else on this before we move forward, guys? Any other thoughts?
I don't think thinking about all the pricing and stuff, I do think this could be, to your point, an issue for AEW if there are fans out there who have to do the $30 ESPN app, because then when you're, again, factoring in Netflix and you're factoring possibly a cable provider that does not, support this ESPN app, is that people are going to be saying, oh, an extra $30 a month, man, I guess I'll just stop buying AEW pay-per-views and that'll make up for it. That it could eat in to people's AEW.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's a reality too, is we know that AEW is eventually going to offer their pay-per-views through Max. We don't know what the cost is going to be. Will they be cheaper on there? Max they don't have that capability yet. So we're kind of waiting to see what happens there. But certainly there's an added cost with AEW now. They're running these pretty much monthly pay-per-views is $50 to watch a pay-per-view every month, and that's a lot. Like, that's the old model of pay-per-view, but I think people have been willing to pay that because of the quality you're getting from AEW, but also you're supporting kind of an upstart company, and I think that factors into people psychologically, the fans of AEW trying to support what they're trying to do over there. But ultimately, yeah, there's only so many dollars to go around, and if you watch both products, as Justin said, that could end up harming them.
You have to wonder, Max-wise, Netflix just started rolling out live stuff. I think it was the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight last fall was their first thing. Then they did football. There was a Christmas, I think it was a Kansas City Chiefs, Houston Texans game that wasn't really looked upon quite well. The reviews were like, yeah, this is just from the initial experience, it wasn't that great. And I think with time, it's going to get better. I mean, that's what Max is going to have to do too. They'll have to tell their subscribers to be patient. This is our very first time rolling out live television, so got that going too.
Yeah. All right. So the last time we did a show, we talked about the return of Brock Lesnar, and we found out some more on Brock Lesnar this week and WWE and everything happening there. And I thought we should talk about that on the show. So it came out that, Brock was obviously gone for a couple of years from TV. His name became very toxic because it was named 44 times in the Janelle Grant lawsuit. But ultimately, WWE Legal had cleared him to return about 1 month ago, and they kept it extremely secret. People didn't even know backstage. Talent didn't know he was going to be there at SummerSlam. It did not get out at all. And we also found out that, Brock was never suspended or anything like that. In fact, he was paid in full the entire time he was off television. And one of the highest paid, as you would imagine, one of the highest paid figures in WWE is Brock Lesnar. And he got his guarantee the entire time he was off. Not fired, not suspended. He just wasn't booked. And, we've also seen that WWE has released several people due to cost-cutting measures. Yet they're paying Brock Lesnar a hell of a lot of money for the last couple of years to not be on TV. Ultimately, WWE Legal, evidently, they believe what's going to happen with this Vince McMahon case is it's going to go to arbitration. There's going to be a settlement, and thus Brock Lesnar being named in the lawsuit won't be relevant to that, and they thought he could come back at this point. Thoughts on Brock's return? Any more thoughts have come up over the last couple of days, and how do you feel about the cuts while Brock was getting paid full value for 2 years being off television?
Stereotypical WWE. I think the only thing I'm going to add from last weekend was, how do the female employees feel from a World Wrestling Entertainment perspective? Do they feel safe? Do they even feel seen? That is the $100,000 question. And since I'm not a female, I can't answer that. But I know how I would feel if that were the case, especially with his name, again, being mentioned 44 times in a lawsuit. So those are my 2 cents.
Justin?
I mean, it's just, that's the thing, is just the messaging of it. Whether or not you believe Brock Lesnar is guilty or not, that is still an ongoing thing. And I agree with you. I do think that's how it's going to end up being solved. Got to love that American justice. But when you look at the totality of this promotion's history when it comes to the treatment of women, their message seems loud and clear, which is, we don't care, unless it's somehow hurting our bottom line, then it just doesn't matter. We're going to, to your point, we're wasting money on Brock not wrestling. So let's bring him in, because I think we think this is going to get resolved in a manner where he's going to be fine, even if, he did some pretty evil stuff. So I agree with Jesse. There is a fantastic post from a member of our Facebook group. I unfortunately can't remember her name right now, but she had a long post about, what this means to her. And as men, I don't think it's, again, to Jesse's point, we can't really speak to it except for, the perception of it. And the perception is they don't care about women, and I don't know. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah. Shout out to Jane Rebecca, because I pulled it up just as you were talking about it and just how she feels about it. I'll just kind of give it kind of give you the cliff notes of it. She was a fan of the WWF as a child, and when she reached her preteens, her favorite wrestler died, Brian Pillman, and there was an aggressive push to humiliate any woman involved in the company. And as a product for a consumer and as an actual child, I was told, this is not for you, so she stopped watching. 2 years ago, she said a friend who liked WWF said, it's different now, more accepting. Vince is out and women are respected. You go a little bit further down the line, she just says, from a business perspective, continuously alienating your women and lesbian fans also is the easiest way to thin your revenue stream after working so hard to capture them. Final close is, I'm sure longtime fans are thrilled that minority fans are alienated away from their special favorite and that TKO doesn't give two shits, but I'm sad, disappointed. However, as a victim and as a survivor, I can only walk the walk if my convictions followed my actions. It's a tremendous post. If you're in the Facebook group, please go and read it. And this is why I think Justin, more than anyone, and I feel the exact same way, though, has a hard time kind of looking away these days when it comes to World Wrestling Entertainment, because we're being sympathetic and putting ourselves in other people's shoes and how they feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, well said. That was a great post in the group. Appreciate you bringing that up and quoting from it. Yeah, we talked a lot about this, I think, on Sunday when we did the SummerSlam night 2, and we got into a lot of WWE's issues with, what our current values are as people, and trying to reconcile that, and doing a wrestling podcast for this long, and having to cover them, obviously biggest wrestling company in the world, but like not agreeing with a lot of the things that they do and how we balance that as media members. And it's certainly getting more challenging. Jesse, you have spoken to this a lot on your podcast, Unplugged, over on our Patreon feed, where I think you get a little bit more open about like the politics of this and everything. And yeah, it's a struggle, certainly, depending on how you feel on these topics, or just Jesus. It's a struggle, and if you are a person who supports basic human rights sometimes. So, and speaking of all of this, it's really interesting how they deflected so much on Brock's return, right? So I joked, the first thing I said on Sunday's show was, I guess we know why they didn't do media scrums this weekend. That is true. That, according to sources in the company, they knew that because of the reaction Brock's return would get, that is why they canceled the media scrums without telling the media members who traveled across the country to go there that they weren't going to do the scrum. And then there was a lot of deflection. So Paul Levesque, Hunter, said that he basically implied that Cena wanted to work with him, and that's why they brought him back. He put the blame on John Cena. Like, oh, Cena's retirement tour, everyone's really into it right now. Cena wants to work with him. He says, I think I got the quote here. Let me pull this up right now. He says, this is John Cena's wish list. John Cena's. It's him writing the last chapter of his book, and I think people saw a conversation with us where he said we'd have to screw it up pretty badly to ruin his career. Blah, blah, blah. One of the very first things I said to him is, who do you want and how? And we're working through that. Well, then John Cena did an interview where he didn't seem to confirm that. He basically just said, well, they deal him up and I play him. So he just kind of like refuted Hunter's allegation that he wanted to work with Brock and didn't really confirm that. And then Paul does ESPN, and he said, quote, we hit him up and said, time to come home. And he was into it. A massive moment for our fans, something they thought they wouldn't get to see. And then enter Paul Heyman, where Paul Heyman really went off on the people who didn't like to see Brock return. I don't know if I want to read this whole quote, but basically he said, he's here, he's going to be here, and you ain't going to be able to cancel him. And I'm happy to have him back because the audience is happy to have him back. If we brought him back and the audience rebelled against it, I wouldn't be happy to have him back. But he basically said, get over it. He's back. We're not going to cancel him.
And that's going to be the case. Like, they're not going to change. They're not going to do anything different if people just keep watching, irregardless of how it makes them feel. And that's a large portion of their audience. A lot of people can just ignore all the surrounding stuff and just watch the product for what it is. And until that changes, they're going to keep behaving this way because they can. Like I said before, until it hurts their bottom line, they're going to behave how they want to behave.
A spokesperson for Janelle Grant commented also on Brock Lesnar's return. That one I think it is worth reading in full. So that statement said, quote, "For far too long, abuse was allowed to thrive under WWE's leadership. Instead of righting this wrong, WWE has done nothing to ensure those responsible are held accountable. This attempt to sweep misconduct under the rug will backfire. We look forward to the full set of facts, including those about Mr. Lesnar, coming out in a court of law where they belong. But in the meantime, we refer you back to Janelle Grant's updated complaint, which outlines in detail the abuse she endured by McMahon and others while employed at WWE," end quote. So according to people close to that side of the legal case, they were very surprised that Brock came back. And they said nothing has changed regarding the case over the last month that would lead to a change in, how they view Lesnar's involvement in all these allegations. So there you go.
And one thing that they've been doing for years is if there's enough of an outcry, they'll give you a little spoonful for about 2 weeks to maybe a month and then go right back to their original ways. Notice how John Cena on Friday night ran into R-Truth?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, Ron Killings is back to being his old comedic character, just like he was before. He is no longer a serious character. That is correct. You should. Yep. There's a handful of people I respect in the from a social media perspective that are quite angry about this right now, but they say it makes all the sense in the world because this has been Hunter's modus operandi for years.
Shocking, Justin. Shocking.
I can't believe it. And I thought they were going to put the rocket straps on Ron Killings back there.
One big run for Ron Killings. Yeah. No. They didn't just re-sign him after cutting him because he, had a lot of buzz all of a sudden, could have gone elsewhere. No, this was all planned.
Mm-hmm. Do you enjoy the show?
Yeah, what a crock of shit that was. That was real bad to undermine the media. I mean, that story was repeated. That was reported, honestly. It was not all part of the show. That was BS. But I guess we don't have to worry about those press scrums anymore, so no more of that.
Yeah. Which will be especially nice for them when John Cena brings back his beloved Vince McMahon for one last time on the show.
Let me just ask you, do you guys think you're going to see Vince McMahon on WWE program again and beyond, a tribute when he passes away?
I mean, I wouldn't shock me at all at this point. I mean, yeah, I'll say yes. We will. I mean, you all might see him. I won't because I won't be watching.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Jesse? We've lost Jesse. He's like, I can't even think of this. I guess. I think it's going to happen eventually. I mean, obviously, when Vince passes away, he's getting up there in age. There's going to be mentions of it on TV, but I think it's going to happen years down the road. We'll see what happens, unfortunately. But yeah, that's where all of that stands. We wanted to hit on all the big WWE stories. We can shift this over to AEW now. Now, I mentioned I am pretty far behind on my wrestling viewing this week, but we got the build to Forbidden Door. I know several of our listeners over in the UK are going to be at that show. I'm looking forward to hopefully some of them providing us the live perspective. I think John here in the chat is going. And, Carl, we talked to him about it on the show. He said he's debating it. He might be going to the show. I haven't talked to Liam. I'm not sure if Liam is going or not. But, Justin, what have you thought of the build to Forbidden Door and just general thoughts on this week's AEW television?
The television has been excellent. Forbidden Door, it has been slowly turning into just an AEW pay-per-view. Obviously, New Japan isn't quite what it used to be when Forbidden Door first started. They've got CMLL talent they can bring in, but just with where New Japan is at, I mean, specifically where they're still trying to wrap up the G1 Climax. So they haven't been able to kind of send anybody over to build to some big matches for Forbidden Door. But the other way where they're at is they're still building stars who frankly right now probably won't make all that much of an impact on like a buy rate for a pay-per-view. So Tanahashi is going to be on the show, but he has no opponent announced. Kyle Fletcher just challenged anybody from New Japan for Forbidden Door. I'm hopeful next week's Collision, there's going to be a 4-way to determine an opponent for Zack Sabre Jr. And holy shit, we might be. Oh, I think that was the first time I cursed on this pod. We could be seeing a possible Zack Sabre Jr. and Nigel McGuinness pay-per-view world title match, which would be incredible. So there's a lot to like. I think, boy, I thought they were going to wait on this, but it's starting to look like we could get MJF and Hangman on this pay-per-view, along with hopefully just the beginning of a long feud between Mox and Darby. And by that, obviously, they've been feuding for a long time, but a lot more matches down the road. So there's a lot to like. There's a lot of questions, but I think this card is shaping up pretty nicely as just basically a AEW pay-per-view plus a little bit of New Japan and CMLL.
Yeah. Jesse, you're back.
Good Lord. I think all that toxicity talking about Vince McMahon just like froze everything in my computer. Not once, but twice. So, yes, I think the likelihood of Vince McMahon appearing on television increases every single day by like a 0.2% margin. So by the time I think the end of the year hits, it might happen. Yeah. AEW wise, like Justin just said, it's pretty much an AEW pay-per-view. There hasn't been much going on. You can't do much, I think, with the G1 still going on in New Japan. So it's hard for them to kind of come over and tell their side of the story on certain things. Hard to promote matchups. You got that going. It's a different time of the year. It's usually been in June for this reason, just because the G1 is really big from July all the way through August. So you really can't do much promoting. And then CMLL, I think you might see an MJF Mystico match.
I'm pretty sure Mystico's wrestling on a different show that same night. I think they're holding that off for a CMLL specific show or for something down the road. But I'm fairly certain that match will not be taking place at Forbidden Door.
Okay. I mean, we're only 2 weeks away from that. That's so crazy to think about. Time has flown. I mean, they've been progressing stories in AEW very slowly, I think for good reason, because they're really looking towards All Out. But then again, like Justin said, you see Okada swerve.
Oh,
I never thought I'd see that on. Didn't think I'd see that on Forbidden Door. It's something I thought they'd be saving for All Out. You're seeing Tony Storm and Athena. That's going to be a entertaining match, and it'd be kind of weird to have Athena get her crowning moment overseas when I all but thought it would be a foregone conclusion that Athena's going to be the one to take it from Tony Storm, but maybe not. So, yeah, there's a lot of intrigue heading into this show in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks from today, O2 Arena in London. You just mentioned two of the big matches on the show. We are also going to have the Hurt Syndicate against the winner of FTR and Brodito for the tag titles. TBS title, Mercedes Moné against Alex Windsor versus somebody from Stardom and somebody from CMLL in a 4-way match. Per WrestleTix, they had an update on this 2 days ago. So right now, the setup is for 16,695 fans to be at the show if they sell it out. They've distributed 14,526. So a really good gate for them right now. It's probably going to be sold out by the time the show happens. So yeah, they're going to have like 17,000 people there. I would imagine it's a very large venue, going to look great on TV. And as I said, hopefully some of our listeners and collaborators are going to be at the show as well.
I did not have a Bandito Brody King tag team on my bingo card in 2025, and I absolutely love it. You see that
shirt they released? The shirt's
fantastic. I know what I'm doing after we're done potting.
I might have to look.
They've been fantastic.
Especially if there's especially if there's a color scheme that I would really enjoy.
Hold on. I sent this to our friend Jay the other day, so I have it on my computer. Let me I'm gonna post this on our stream right now because I was like, this t-shirt is incredible. I feel like this is one that Justin Joyne is like 100% going to buy. If you're on the podcast feed, I apologize. You're not going to see this, obviously, but I'm going to put this up here on the YouTube so you guys can see this. I just screenshotted it. Check this out, Justin.
I haven't bought an AEW t-shirt in 2 years. This might be the first.
You said you wanted a little green and white in it, Jesse? So he said you're going to be happy
a little
with
bit.
This. Here it is.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I think it's pretty good. I like it. Looks a
That's
little bit like
great.
the the cartoon they had of Brody on the Abolish Ice shirt that he sold.
Yeah.
Good stuff. There you go.
Oh man, yeah, that's one of the great things about pro wrestling is just sometimes you put two people together and it just like magic happens. Like you would not have expected these guys to gel so well.
Yeah.
And I think they're a credible threat to the Hurt Syndicate with, Bandito's the ROH world champion and Brody King effing rules. So I could definitely see that happening, especially because, FTR is probably going to be looking at a feud with Copeland. So they don't necessarily need to be in that match. But yeah, I think TK might be having to, according to the rumors, force the Hurt Syndicate to put somebody over.
Did you see how they leaned into those rumors?
Yeah,
that
that
was
was
pretty. That
incredible.
was pretty funny. Yeah.
Bandito, by the way, is starting to turn into Athena on the men's side, getting all this credibility, defeating Takeshita in a tremendous match about a month and a half ago before he left for Japan. So when he ultimately loses, maybe he gets a huge push in AEW for once. I'd like to see that, but I mean, it'd be a good start with those two taking the tag titles off. It makes the Buddy Matthews injury kind of a blessing in disguise for Brody King here. Give him something to do. They could defend the tag titles, and I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, as good as Buddy is, Bandito is just a step above.
Oh yeah. All right, we're gonna wrap things up. I got one closing question for you. I should have included this in the WWE section. I'm gonna ask you guys real quick. Have either of you checked out that Netflix show Unreal yet?
I put on a couple episodes just to kind
Mhm.
of get an idea of what it is or get a feel for it. And yeah, I mean, it's not really for me. That is something I would have just absolutely eaten up years ago, but not so much anymore. I was very curious about the WrestleMania stuff, specifically with CM Punk, and seeing him absolutely fucking grovel to Triple H was one of the most depressing things I've ever watched. So, yeah.
Not just that, by the way, the actual card and what it was supposed to be was like 33% accurate. Just how many changes they made on the fly within that month, and I think part of it had to do with Dwayne was very telling.
I think a lot of the card that they were originally thinking was we had talked about on the show as like that probably being the direction at the time, and then things changed. We saw if you watch the show, you see how they flip from on the Rumble, or at least you think they flip. Some of this is definitely still show business, and they're showing you like
Yes.
what you want to see.
Yep.
But you see them like all supposedly flip and then all decide on Jay winning the Rumble. But I will say I like the show more than I thought I would. I've been actually watching it with my wife. She likes this behind the scenes stuff and she really likes it. I said to her, maybe we have to bring back our podcast. If our patrons will remember, my wife and I
Yeah.
did a podcast where we were reviewing Love in WWE, and she did those shows with me. Maybe I'll have her review Unreal with me. We'll see over on the Patreon side. But yeah, it's again, you have to keep in mind, again, they're showing you what they want you to see, but some of it has been interesting. It's an easy watch. I've enjoyed most of what I've watched on it personally. But yeah. I'm only 3 episodes in, so I have not seen, I think it's 5. I haven't seen the whole run yet. And they're still filming too. So apparently there's going to be more, and some talent is not too happy from what I hear about them filming in gorilla position, seen as like one sacred areas of the show where they can get away from the cameras, and they got these people filming in there all the time now, and not too happy with that.
You get a little bit of, there's been a lot of gorilla position filming in the last handful of years. I know they did it for BTE when CM Punk made his AEW return.
Yeah,
Absolutely. So I don't know, it's worth checking out. I think most wrestling fans will like it a little bit. Justin?
I just wanted, are we done with this?
Yes.
The Unreal. Before we end, this is kind of old news, but I just finally got around to watching it this weekend. If you have not seen Kyle Fletcher versus Dustin Rhodes, the Chicago street fight, do yourself a favor. Go watch it. I have been watching pro wrestling for almost 40 years. So the fact that they are still showing me stuff that I have never seen in pro wrestling is absolutely incredible. and there is at least one, if not two, instances of holy crap, that was incredible. So go out of your way to watch that match.
Strong recommendation from Justin Joint. There you go.
Congratulations, Kyle Fletcher, getting a pay raise as well
Yes.
on top of all this. So 2025 has been the breakout year for him, and we'll see what it looks like going forward.
Yes, indeed. All right, guys. That's episode 393 of Top Rope Nation. Easy, free-flowing show this morning, but we want to hit on the hot topics. We'll be back next week. We'll have that classics episode for our patrons and YouTube Plus members here on SummerSlam 90 coming at you here in the next couple of weeks as well. So keep it tuned here to Top Rope Nation. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Join the Facebook group, which we talked about earlier. If you just search Top Rope Nation Pro Wrestling Discussion, you can get involved over there as well. Great group of people talking wrestling every single day. And with that, enjoy the rest of your weekend, everybody. Take care. We'll see you next time.
Peace.